me one good reason why I shouldn't LARP as a horse owner on TikTok. I love video games. Love them to death. Probably love video games to an unhealthy degree. So, you'd think that when an Ocarina of Time remake is announced, I'd be flipping my lid. However, I'm unfazed. Because all they showed was a whimpering boy. Just saying I haven't yet been given the opportunity to flip my lid. All I'm asking for is one thing to see, to point at the screen and say, cool. Another game I'm looking forward to is Insomniac's Marvel's Wolverine. And I just said looking forward to, right? Not losing sleep over, not, making my heart rate accelerate. And again, I think the reason for that is mostly just because of what has appeared in marketing to this point, and I'm losing my mind, man, because there's been 2 new Wolverine trailers in the last 2 weeks. And hey, I want to make it clear right here that this will probably be a great video game. Personally, I'm probably gonna become obsessed with it, right? Unlocking all the costumes and everything, making sure I get all those trophies. But up to this point, I have not flipped my lid, and I've been trying to figure out what that's about. And I know this is probably bad analysis. Surface analysis, borderline unhelpful analysis. But the conclusion I've come to is that Wolverine doesn't look cool. So while I would like to talk about those 2 new trailers, it is worth mentioning that the big June State of Play featured a long gameplay demo of Wolverine. And I never really talked about it much at the time because it was just good. G-O-O-D. It was good. It was good. It's pretty much in line with your expectations, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not going to complain. I just don't think it drove a lot of conversation or really lit up the imaginations of everybody who was watching. The moment that stands out to me the most is when Wolverine's protecting this truck full of unpopular weird mutants with no star power, and then he jumps out of there and the bullets keep flying by directly into the truck full of kids. Cut to title reveal. But generally, it was just nice to see the game functioning and working, right? We knew they were saving the good stuff for later, and now we have 2 new trailers. Here comes the good stuff, right? Story trailer and Ain't No Hero trailer. Yeah, obviously, you could expect less emphasis on gameplay here. So you might be wondering, what is the difference between these 2 trailers? Well, one is CG, not actual gameplay. The other is captured on PS5 Pro with a healthy mix of gameplay and in-game cinematics. But the biggest actual difference between these 2 trailers is whether or not Wolverine's wearing his mask. It turns out, in the story trailer, Wolverine hates wearing his mask. I'll show you all of the close-ups of no mask Wolverine.
To keep them safe for so long.
I thought you is why you belong here.
Most people I see clearly.
Must give in!
Remember who you are!
Can't let a man rest in peace, can you?
Okay, and then here are all the close-ups where he has his mask on. That's weird, right? That's what Hollywood does with superheroes. That's why Spider-Man's always pulling off his mask if he's going to start crying. I don't think that has to be true for video games. And what's weird is in this trailer, Wolverine is always looking so surprisingly pensive. Just sad man with sideburns. Personally speaking, I think Wolverine works best when he's like, I'm the best at what I do. And in this video game, he looks more like, please don't say something mean to me. That said, I think this trailer shows cool stuff. There are moments you see where you think that part's gonna be fun, but you may also at moments think, why this? I'm gonna show that to you one more time, slowed down, but just in case you missed it, Wolverine just tugs on a guy's leg. Doesn't use his claws, he just tugs on a guy's leg, I think to throw off his balance, stabs him one in the back and then one in the face. I'm not saying that's like a bad animation, and maybe he couldn't use his claws on that leg. Maybe that leg was robotic and made of adamantium or worse, vibranium. But I am saying I wouldn't put it in Wolverine's highlight reel, which is what a trailer is. And if I may, for just a second, I would like to talk about Wolverine's claws. Wolverine the comic book character, the Wolverine the character's claws, not necessarily just Wolverine the video game character's claws. Because here's what I think. I think Wolverine's claws are inherently cool. I think it is cool that his claws come out from this part of his hand between his knuckles. Like, to Wolverine in universe, right? To Wolverine the character, he doesn't have to think about it too much because that's just the way he mutated. But what I'm saying is that if Wolverine's claws like came out of his palm, if that's the way he mutated and he had to like go like this to fight, he wouldn't have made it this far. He would have died in the 70s. I'm saying if Wolverine had claws that come out of his elbow, we would not care about him. That's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, the importance of looking cool, which obviously I realize is surface level stuff. It's shallow to say a character should look cool, but also none of the other stuff works. The backstory and the characterization and the costume design, none of that works without the claws. Like, sure, could you write a compelling character who has elbow claws? No doubt. I know you could. But I'm not sure you could do that and also feed a game studio full of hundreds of game designers. With that understood, I think the second most important thing about Wolverine the character as he existed throughout decades is that he says, "Rah!" with his claws. That's also important, right? Like, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. He's Wolverine in like 8 movies before he ever put on Wolverine's iconic mask, but he was iconically Wolverine because he had claws and he said "Rah!" when he had to. And so yeah, while it kind of stinks that Wolverine in the video game apparently doesn't have his mask on a lot, I guess what bums me out more is the "rah" factor, right? The idea that, well, look, clearly he does go berserk, but it seems like that's Yellow Eyes Wolverine. That's the Wolverine he needs to be talked out of. And I think that's also kind of the point of the Mask On trailer, the Ain't No Hero trailer. Here's one of the first shots of this trailer, by the way. That's nice. They get that the claws are important. The claws speak inherently to the human soul. So we travel through these various scenarios and environments, and we get the impression that this one slippery photograph is really important to an uncharacteristically clumsy Wolverine. And that photograph is kept a mystery throughout this trailer until the end. It's revealed that the photograph is a candid shot of Logan and Jean looking happy together. Or, if this is your first exposure to Wolverine, just 2 happy people you don't know. But then when that burns up, he gets extra mad and then just kind of ends the trailer. I'm saying it's not a satisfying reveal to anyone. And it's insane that they budgeted out this entire trailer thinking it would be. That even any fan would say, oh, thank goodness, Wolverine is hung up on Jean Grey in this video game. Like, I was just talking about the necessary attributes of Wolverine, and it's really just claws and rah. I would say that Wolverine loving Jean Grey is low priority. In fact, it might not even be necessary at all. I do appreciate that one time that he walked up and slashed a bunch of wrapped gifts that Cyclops was about to give to Jean Grey.
What the fuck?
And here's the thing, I haven't played the game. There's a chance in September I come back here and I'm like, hey, actually, they really made the Jean Grey relationship work. It's freaking touching, dude. Tell whatever story you want, but I am just saying here in July, it's not working in the advertising. Wolverine loves Jean Grey, but she understandably doesn't like him like that is not a bullet point for the back of your box. So I don't understand why that should be the focal point for these trailers. I've got a weird comparison, but it was striking to me when it came to the Odyssey's marketing and posters and everything, how prominent these guys were, considering how unimportant they really are to the Odyssey. But you know what they are? Cool. They're cool. It's a striking image because those weird giant knights that I don't fully understand look cool. So yeah, why not? Show the cool part. Show the cool part and make money. Which I realize, yeah, does open the door for the obvious counterpoint that Oppenheimer, from the exact same director, made nearly $1 billion without ever having a single cool thing happen. in the whole movie. So that would be a fair point. Maybe Wolverine is going for Oppenheimer vibes. We'll see. And that's Delayed Input. I'll be back next week. Until then, thanks for watching. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about Sabertooth. This guy. His costume is dumb. It's not what you would expect a serious psycho tough guy to wear. There's a recent episode of X-Men 97 where Morph outright mocks that particular costume, to which Sabertooth responds, "Don't you talk about my damn outfit." That's very funny, but also all the rationalization I need. Now I know even in universe that costume looks ridiculous, but Sabertooth likes it. So I wonder why in this video game Marvel's Wolverine, Sabertooth is looking like just a guy. It's not like they modernized his costume. Right? They didn't make it cooler. They just made it more practical. And I guess that's what is the failure to me. Somebody said you can have some fur, but not too much fur. And I'm just thinking it's Sabertooth, man. Surely Sabertooth can dress like a freak. Just give him all white eyes, double wide shoulders. He's always got is it just defaulting to like a nasty grin? That's Sabertooth. But Insomniac's Marvel's Wolverine's Sabertooth says no. I must adhere to a specific aesthetic. My best guess here is that they think this looks cool. And it just makes me yawn. Sabertooth is just one guy. He can't have this. Is nobody flamboyant in this entire universe? What are we doing here? Oh, this is crazy. Someone actually leaked a screenshot of the Beast in Marvel's Wolverine. He looks like this.